Heaven's Gate is the second studio album by rock band Greta Van Fleet. The modern Led Zeppelin is back once again as they continue to give modern rock fans the same reason why classic rock was a very like big like talked about a subject when it was very big, especially with a very classic and just legendary band like Led Zeppelin. Now, right off the bat, I know how everybody feels about Greta Van Fleet, especially the homeboy Anthony Fantano, who without a doubt gave this album a not good rating again, probably. And honestly, y'all, I get it, because sometimes I get a bit annoyed, the lead singer saying how he doesn't like being compared to Led Zeppelin because he is not inspired by Led Zeppelin, that they're doing their own style. And I think it's bullshit because, first of all, I think anybody can tell that they are very Led Zeppelin inspired. Even Robert Plant himself said that it's very obvious who they got inspired from. And honestly, I just feel that they should embrace it at this point because, first of all, I think it's a very big honor to be compared to somebody like Led Zeppelin, especially when for a lot of people, they consider Led Zeppelin to be the greatest rock band of all time. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but I know for a fact a lot of people do feel that way. And second of all, I think at this point, like it's really hard to try and make something original. Like, props to you if you are able to do it. It's very rare when an artist is able to do something that's new and genre bending. But we reached a point in the music industry where almost everything has already been done before, and it's kind of hard to do something original. So if you have to like continue to do the traditional thing on how music has been made, I think that you should embrace it, because you never know if you're going to be like a really great modern artist. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on how Greta Van Fleet thinks sometimes. However, I've always been a big believer in listening to certain artists or bands, not because of how they are as a person, but judge them by if they make good music or not. And I think we can all agree, whether you are a big fan of the kind of statements that they make sometimes, I think we can all agree that Greta Van Fleet is super fucking talented, and they definitely are one of the greatest, modern rock bands that we have right now, especially that, rock bands aren't a very popular thing anymore these days, unfortunately. I think we can all agree that Greta Van Fleet makes some pretty fucking awesome music. I think it's a great way for modern rock fans who don't know who Led Zeppelin is, or people that just in general didn't get to witness the rise of Led Zeppelin, like people that always ask, what was the hype about a Led Zeppelin back then. I think that Greta Van Fleet is their opportunity to witness just why Led Zeppelin were a very big deal before they eventually stopped making music. And honestly, I was really excited when I first discovered Greta Van Fleet. I heard their first EP, I believe, is called From the Fires. I actually showed this band to all the homies. It is the only band that I ever got the homies into. They all got me into all these other different music. It's very rare when I was able to put my friends on a lot of new artists, which I know is pretty weird and crazy for me to say, especially because I'm an album reviewer. You would think that everybody would want to hear the music that I talk about, but not everybody has the same taste. But Greta Van Fleet is a band that I got the homies into, especially for the homie Hassel. He was very into Led Zeppelin back then. He is more of a Doors kind of guy now, but at the time, during high school and during the 1 year after high school, he was very into Led Zeppelin. That was his favorite band. And I told him, hey, there's this new band where they're pretty much the new Led Zeppelin. It's the modern Led Zeppelin. And he was like, well, you know what, motherfucker? I'm gonna hear this for myself, because only I can judge that shit. And we both heard the Safari song, and I think it was The Edge of Darkness, and there was also a Highway tune. Those are three really good songs from the Fires album. And Hassel just really fell in love with their music. You know, he finally has a new band to look forward to new music with, and you know that first EP really did like blow them up, and you know like pretty much it gave them a lot of attention, and people really started to recognize this band as a really great, you know, modern Led Zeppelin for modern fans to enjoy. From the Fires came out in 2017, and then a year later, they achieved a lot of great success and popularity with their official debut studio album in 2018 entitled Anthem of the Peaceful Army, which I was very happy to see that they started to gain popularity and recognition. You know, I really love that album. To this day, I can hear that whole album from start to finish and just never get bored of that, because you know they really created a very beautiful project with, you know, Anthem of the Peaceful Army, and it had me really excited to see what they were going to do next after this album. Sure, that album was the one that made people think they were obnoxious for saying that, you know, they're not trying to be Led Zeppelin, and you know I get that. You know, fucking Anthony Fantano gave that album a not good rating solely because of that opinion of them not wanting to be Led Zeppelin itself. But personally, I loved every second of that album. It is one of my favorite modern rock albums that have come out recently. It's been about 2 years since their last project, and this phenomenal rock band known as Greta Van Fleet is finally back with their second studio album to give modern rock fans some more really great music for them to enjoy. That being said, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this particular project, and it makes me kind of sad to say that, because I honestly really love this band. And you know, I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy this album at all, but you know, when I compare it to the first two albums that they dropped, I didn't enjoy this one as much as those two projects. I will say that this album is definitely Greta Van Fleet's way of doing something new with their, you know, with their music, you know, with their production sound, you know, with their voices and everything. You know, they definitely do a lot of different shit in this album than what they did in the first two albums. And you know, I could see why people would look at this album and say that Greta Van Fleet are actually trying to discover their own, you know, unique sound that make them sound like Greta Van Fleet and not that much of a Led Zeppelin inspired rock band. And for the most part, this album does impress me, with Greta Van Fleet attempting to do their first like storytelling based album. You know, I know that most rock albums back in the day, they, you know, did a bunch of, you know, a bunch of different shit where they tell the different stories and whatnot. I think that's what a lot of rock albums do, and you know, this was something like this was pretty much Greta Van Fleet writing the soundtrack to their life, if that makes sense. Greta Van Fleet tell a story about a great battle as they make a bunch of war-inspired songs throughout this whole project. You know, it's very like energetic, it's very hype. You know, it kind of reminds me of that music video that Fun made a few years back in 2012, I believe, the Some Nights video, where Fun are just, you know, like playing instruments and singing along while there's a big fucking war going on. You know, I kind of feel that this is kind of a weird continuation from that story, you know, because I just have all these images in my head of you know, it's just, you know, marching bands and whatnot, and you know, people shooting at each other and whatnot. It's like it reminds me of a very old school, like, you know, traditional war battlefield scene, where, you know, it's like in the first world war, where, you know, like they didn't have the advanced guns that we have now. You know, it kind of brings it back to those days, if that makes sense. I really did love the improved vocals from the lead singer in this album. You know, it seems that in this album in particular, he was finally able to hit those really great high notes that just, you know, got you like really like impressed of how better he's gotten. You know, I don't think he was able to hit, you know, the high notes like he did here back in the first two albums. You know, I think that the first two albums was him actually trying to, like, you know, work with his voice, and you know, here he really hit those high notes. And I personally got very just shocked with how good this man got. You know, they took like 2 years of their lives is trying to like really like improve on their sound and improve on their voices as well. The most enjoyable and the most improved aspects of this album were definitely the instruments themselves. The guitar solos were very phenomenal here. We mostly heard a bunch of new drum sounds that made you feel like you were actually in the battlefield, just witnessing this great battle that Greta Van Fleet has been describing for this whole project. It seems that if there's one takeaway from this album is that these dudes definitely got better at improving with their instruments and really like showing off the skills that they've been working on since the last two projects. That being said, I personally believe that this project in particular had a lot of missed potential. It was very unfortunate the amount of potential that this album could have had of being a really great modern storytelling rock project, and it just really didn't live up to the really like high expectations that a lot of modern rock fans have for this particular band. The last two projects that Greta Van Fleet dropped were very fun. It's really fun to listen to those albums back to back, like from beginning to end. You never get bored of those two projects, and a lot of the songs on there are really catchy and easy to remember. You can sing along to almost every song on those first two projects. I really enjoy hearing those projects, especially with the boys. We all go fucking crazy when we hear Highway Tune. We love that shit. And for this particular album, there really isn't any room for fun. Like, it's not really that fun to listen to. It's very impressive to listen to it, and it is enjoyable, but there isn't really that much fun to it. And most of the songs aren't really as catchy. They aren't the kind of songs that you would like want to sing along to, because they just aren't really that easy to remember, unfortunately. In fact, there wasn't much singing in this album at all. There obviously were like a few singing solos in this project. Unfortunately, most of them are just the lead singer just hitting those high notes and whatnot. Like I said, they are very impressive, but when you put them in almost every track, it's like like we get it, my guy. You can hit those high notes. Please give us some catchy shit. And for the most part, it seems that a lot of the songs on here are really extremely long. Like hitting close to the 6 minute mark, and two of those minutes were reserved to a lot of guitar solos and just solos with the instruments. Like I said, the instruments are the biggest improvement and enjoyable aspect throughout this whole project. But like I said, if there is one takeaway from this album, is that the instruments got better. And as for the vocals, you don't really get a chance to really try to enjoy the vocals, the improved vocals that this man has been trying to show off. There were two songs on this project that I didn't like because of that reason in general. One of them was the song My Way Soon, which is actually the lead single on the album. I think a lot of people heard this one last year. And I don't really listen to singles. I wait for the whole project to come out. And when I heard this song, it's the second track on the album, I didn't really feel that this is like a Greta Van Fleet song. It sounded way too generic and basic. It was just a song that I didn't think really like played well with the kind of style that they do, unfortunately. And it kind of sucks because that's like one of the songs where they try to be like fun, and it just really didn't turn out well. And then there's the final track on the album, which is nearly 9 minutes long with nothing memorable about it at all. It's just another reason to make this project as long as it is already. And that's another thing. This is the longest album that Greta Van Fleet has made. Their first EP, From the Fires, it only had like maybe 8 or 9 tracks. It was only about like 20ish to like maybe 30ish, almost 30ish minutes. Not even the first studio album, Anthem of the Peaceful Army, was an hour long. That one was maybe around 40, maybe 50 minutes long. Those two projects aren't as long as this one, and those two projects are very memorable. And as for this one, this one is an hour and 4 minutes long, and it just didn't like really have a lot of memorable moments to it. Like a lot of the songs on here, the final track is nearly 9 minutes long, uh, and the rest of them are close to the 6 minute mark, and not that many of them have its memorable moments. In fact, like the only like few memorable songs in my opinion that became my favorite songs are the ones that are close to 2 to 3 minutes long, and they had a few catchy tunes to it. Like there's maybe like 5 or 6 tracks on here that were pretty catchy, and the other ones were just just extremely unnecessary long songs. It just really didn't like balance each other out, unfortunately. And don't get it twisted, I'm not trying to say that a song sucks for being nearly 9 minutes long, because that's not true at all. I've heard many great songs that were like nearly to 5 or 6 minutes long, and they were really really fantastic. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, that's a really really dope song that I enjoy. One by Metallica is nearly like 8 minutes long, and that one is just pure like great instruments and pure like great vocals and catchy choruses and whatnot. Like I love One by Metallica. Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin is a really really great example of a great long song that is just great and really fun to listen to. The guitar solos, everything, it's very catchy and fun to hear with the boys. And I guess if you want to talk about rap songs that are like really really long, the song Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst by Kendrick Lamar, that one is like close to 10 to maybe 11 minutes long, and that one like is really really dope. It keeps you on your toes forever. It has a very catchy tune. It has a very catchy chorus. It has great metaphors and whatnot. It's very intense. Like songs like that are really really great. Long songs that I don't mind. I don't mind long songs at all, especially when nowadays it seems that songs are like just like a minute and 30 seconds long. People just don't give a fuck anymore. So I am really glad that there are still a few songs out there that like are long and have a lot of great potential, and you can obviously like tell the effort that was put into them. I love songs, long songs, when you can hear and notice the like effort that was put into it. Not songs in this particular project where they are impressive and it are really like satisfying to hear, but at the same time like you don't really feel like like you had fun, or that it was fun to listen to once it's over. That's there was just a lot of missed potential in this project that it just makes me feel bad, especially because I am a really big Greta Van Fleet fan. Regardless of what anybody has to say about how they are in real life. I really love their music, and I was really excited about this album when they hyped it up last year, and it didn't really go as good as I hoped it would be. For the most part, this album only proves once again that the band really really did get good with their instruments, and showing off their skills. They definitely got good with their drum skills and their guitar skills, but that's about it. That's the only thing that this album has going for most of the part, unfortunately. I'm not trying to say that it's a bad album. It's not a bad album at all. It's pretty enjoyable. I think I'm going to enjoy it as background music. I think me and the boys are going to enjoy this project when we have a little get-togethers. It's really great background music, but that's entirely it. It's not a bad album at all, but when you compare it to the first two projects, it isn't their best work at all, unfortunately. So that's how I feel about it. It's a very sadly kind of like a disappointing album, and it's unfortunate because I did fairly enjoy this project. It is kind of decent. It's just not perfect, unfortunately. It is not as phenomenal as the first two projects. I don't think it was. I definitely don't think it was worth the wait, unfortunately. So, that's just how I feel about it. I hope that they make a comeback from this, but as of now, this project is not really my favorite project from them at all. And because of that, I am gonna give this project a 7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. What did you guys think about this album? Have you heard it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are your favorite tracks? What are your least favorite tracks? Please let me know in the comment sections down below. I would love to hear your opinion about this album. And with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, click that button down below, all that good stuff, and don't forget to stay happy.
It's like I'm living a dream, that's how to reach. I've been cooking like Walter and Jesse P. Kisses, I ain't trying to be a prodigy. Past DV.